Hey there, my name here on YouTube is Pollymacho, but feel free to call me Alex. So at this current time of recording, I've never actually been to a house party before. One, because I never really put myself out there to be invited to one, and two, I always thought the idea sounded kinda lame. Like, getting completely blitzed at a stranger's house in hopes to get some action doesn't sound like a good time to me. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious about it, or at least somewhat interested. And thankfully, Eat Games has come in completely clutch with their Steam game, House Party, where I too can live out the fantasy of being invited to a house party.
Because I want to fit in.
And I figured it'd be fun to kind of frame it as like a sort of story experience where I kind of tell you all about it. And before we properly begin, I just want to give a heads up. House Party is pretty raunchy. Like, I'm talking 2010 parody Blue Mountain State raunchy. So if that doesn't sound like your thing at all, or if you know me in real life, I suggest you peace out now, because I don't know if you're going to respect me after this. But now that I think about it, I don't care. I'm also going to try to be doing the impossible. I'm going to try to talk about House Party without getting demonetized. And before we can properly begin, I have to change my attire. Sick. Cool, sick. Okay, cool. Alright, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna be playing as Xander with 2 X's and one of them in my name. It's a fucking stupid joke, oh my god. Alright, my friends, get comfortable as I tell you my story of House Party. Alright, it starts as I'm just chillin' rewatching episodes of a show I don't love but also don't hate. I get a text from my friend Derek. It seems he's my best friend that I had no idea I had. He sends me a text about a party hosted by a girl named Madison. Thanks, man. So I Uber over to the party, and as soon as I got control, I'm already impressed with the game's immersion. My vision is completely blurred and my footage is pretty choppy, replicating the feeling of getting sloshed, and I haven't even started drinking yet. In actuality though, my computer is chugging pretty hard while running and recording this footage, so it'll have to do. And as I'm changing my settings, my game begins to stop working, and I thought there would be no partying for me. But it turns out the program is based and we can properly begin. So I first make sure to stop over to Derek, seeing as he's my best bro. I'm like, thanks for inviting me, bro, and he's really cool about it. It's nice to know that if everyone at the party is lame, I can hang out with Derek because he's pretty based. So I think it's time to go over the members of this party. I figured it would be great to approach this how I would if the gathering was small in real life, that being getting to know the other members and breaking the ice. So the first person I come across is Frank. This dude is the muscle of the group, confiscating all of the booze and locking it away, but ready to open a 6-pack of whoop ass if anyone attempts to drink. He also has this strange fascination with spheres.
My balls are tingling.
Up next is Rachel. She seems pretty great, and apparently Frank took her thermos, so I'll have to talk to him about that later. The following person I run into at this party is Amy. Like me, she's a new face, and she's joining a sorority to make friends, doing a scavenger hunt around the party as a form of initiation. I meet Patrick next, a character who finds a way to work in brah in nearly every sentence. His intro was my absolute favorite because as he stumbles into this dude he has never met, he tells me he is totally drunk but says it right next to Frank, leading to this moment happening that I will play unedited for your enjoyment.
Unique. I'm so drunk, bruh.
The fuck, dude? I'm gonna beat the fucking shit out of you.
My parents always taught me to come at every piece of work with an open mind.
Whoa!
I think it's the whoas that really get me here. I haven't even been here for 15 minutes and a fight happened. This is amazing. For a much more tame but surprisingly aggressive intro, I meet Catherine, who exists. Then I meet Stephanie, the party girl of the group, and I'm convinced she's super glued to the floor because I've never seen her move from the spot for the entire party. As I was trying to figure out how to walk through a screen door, much like I do in real life, I was fortunate enough to come across Ashley, sister of Madison. I also had the pleasure to meet Leah. She does martial arts and is here to help Frank make sure no one gets alcohol. I'm also convinced she's simping for Frank hard. Eventually, I come across Madison, the party host, and express my thanks for being invited to this party. As she talks about Derek, I'm convinced the two are or were dating at some point. For the final person I meet, Brittany, she seems kind but also self-conscious about some balloons she owns, but frankly, I think they're great just the way they are. As soon as I finish with Brittany, Madison suddenly instant transmissions behind me and starts saying how cool it was to meet with all the other guests, which is fair enough, but I feel odd we're having this conversation and I'm just looking away at the other end of the room while Brittany is sitting in the chair. I only realized in hindsight that you can rotate your camera mid-conversation, but I actually like it better this way. Madison also mentioned something about a sky animal from this dude she met at a bus stop or something. It sounds a lot like a scam, but it seems to really make her happy, and you can't do anything about it now, so I just say, oh, okay, cool. So that's a general overview of our party members, and now it's time to declare my objective. American culture has taught me I need to score to feel accomplishment as a man and as a human being, so I'll need some help from someone to score points, so all of my peers will respect me. The current plan is to see about getting help from Rachel. She seems pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure she's Canadian.
No, I haven't seen it, sorry.
Awesome. Easy choice. So my quest is to get her thermos back from Frank. Out of genuine interest and to feel like the Chamberlain from the Dark Crystal, I start befriending Frank in hopes of better understanding him, but also to see if he'll give me a pass on that thermos because we're such great pals. And mid-conversation, Patrick is talking about sea creatures or something, then Rachel lashes out at him for something to do with a website, then he starts talking about it, and then she pimp slaps him. Dude, Patrick is not having a good time tonight. So one thing that has been very apparent in this game is that the party members having conversations is really funny, because the volume will stay the same wherever you go. You'll hear the conversations from below at the same volume if you go upstairs. The soundproofing in this house's foundation is awful. And the guests will be repeating these lines all the time. Patrick will start drunkenly singing, Catherine will complain about her boyfriend, Rachel gets really meta about the game itself, and my bro Derek has my favorite line.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop you right there. I've gotta take a shit.
Classic Derek. In my quest to befriend Frank, I start hunting down the house for beer. Not to drink it, that would be illegal. Instead, I find the beer and give it to Frank in hopes of him liking me, much to the chagrin of everyone else. And while I'm looking for beer like a scavenger hunt, no, not Amy's, I start chatting with Ashley and bringing up her sister's sky animal fascination, to which I painfully discover that Ashley and her sister don't get along. Oops. Ashley proceeds to bash her sister about it, becoming her identity, and Patrick jumps in, and mid-convo, who else but Madison shows up to hear her friends, family, and some random guy trash-talking her. Oh no. Seeing as it's my fault, I check up on her and we talk. And it turns out Madison knows the whole sky animal thing is really dumb, but she's doing it because she wants to have a thing, a unique point about her that will make people like her. And I'm sitting here at my computer thinking, shit, I feel that way too. Like you need to have some unique interest or something about you that will be appealing to people, but it has to be something that could be seen as interesting, otherwise you get labeled as a weirdo. It's a passing feeling, but I wasn't expecting that. And especially in a video game, where this occurred in a virtual bathroom with a conversation with a 3D model. Well played, House Party. Well played. So after patching things up, apparently Madison and I are now BFFs. Sorry, Derek. So after grabbing more alcohol, hoping that Frank and I are thick as thieves and he'll let me into the alcohol cabinet, I ask, but I haven't maxed out his social link yet. Damn it! But I notice he has feelings for Catherine, and he'll do me a favor if I can get Catherine to add being a model to her resume. So, ready to get slapped, I ask Catherine about this request, and she's surprisingly down to have her photo taken. So I pull a Calvin Klein and share the results with Frank. Frank is indebted to my miracle and lets me pick one thing from the cabinet. I take the thermos and present it to Rachel, who is super thankful I pulled it off. Based. Seeing as I'm a miracle worker for this party, I decide to push my luck and ask Rachel for her number. I have no idea what it will do as I broke my phone on the way here, but she gives it to me anyway, and I'm feeling a healthy amount of smugness with my results. But it was at this point where I hit this peak of glory, my fall from grace began. It started innocently enough. I was chatting with Patrick, hoping to get a better understanding of the guy, and it turns out I was regaled with a tale about how he was seen as a dumb kid by his peers. He started learning about SEO and actually made a really popular adult website called Neighborhood Watch. I assumed they were talking about taxes or something. And that would explain why Rachel slapped him talking about some sort of site, and considering she doesn't hate me, Patrick asks if I can change her mind by making this the greatest party of all time. I tell him I'll think about it. I start chatting with Rachel about it, and she asks if I'm here to convince her. Of course I am, I respond, and then she counter-offers me. She mentions it's impolite for women to share their tax info on the internet, and wants me to delete the website using a certain suitcase that Patrick brought but he misplaced. The first step is to get him even more blitzed by offering what's in Rachel's thermos. Apparently it's some heavy-duty alcohol. She says this won't help me score points with her, but it's a video game, of course it will. So I offer the stuff to Patrick, then I make a terrifying discovery. House Party isn't just a party. It's also an adventure game. You know, the old LucasArts point-and-click games where you click the items and use them to solve puzzles and solutions to progress? Yeah, like that, but it's in first person and at the risk of a ruined reputation. So I became a gremlin at the party, taking anything I could in my inventory that wasn't nailed down, having no idea if it was going to be useful later. But shockingly, I actually did find something to help. I noticed a broom, and after looking around for 30 minutes, I finally found the suitcase on the roof of a gazebo. And this is where my downfall was guaranteed. I walk upstairs looking for Rachel, and I find her, with a blackout drunk Patrick that was in an accident where all of his clothes have been stolen. The poor guy. So after 10 minutes of trying to figure out how to open the case, I walk over to my best bro Frank, sorry Derek and Madison, and ask him to force open the suitcase. He was happy to oblige. And upon opening the case, I discover it's actually a computer hosting an AI named Computer Bra. And in order to delete the contents of the site, I need to get the master key. And oh boy, this is going to be hard to explain. So it turns out, unbeknownst to everyone here, Patrick had brought a hose with him to the party, and he also has a key, but that key is in the hose, and it would be horribly rude to turn on the hose and let it drench the closet. So being the polite party guest and with encouragement from Rachel, I drink through the hose until I get the key, and after getting it, Rachel cheers for me and pieces out. And now I'm crestfallen. I came here looking to score with Rachel, but it turns out I scored on my own team by mistake. Bummer. At least he enjoyed it. But the night was not over yet. I may have struck out with Rachel, but then I remembered that I hadn't messed anything up with Madison yet, so I might recover from this. I start chatting with Madison and she wants me to pull a prank on her sister Ashley, and as I'm getting ready to do so, I begin talking with Ashley, but now I'm conflicted. On one hand, Ashley is hot, but she's also pretty mean to her sister, almost comically so, but she's also hot. On the other, there's Madison. She's great, but she also has a history with my boy Derek, and I couldn't in good conscience pursue something that I have no idea what kind of dynamic they have. I start walking around the party for nearly an hour deciding what to do. Do I pick choice A with Ashley or choice B with Madison? Well, it was a tough decision, but one I'm ultimately proud of. I go with option C. The definition's blurred. If I'm to choose between one sister or another, I'd rather not choose at all. And that's where my playthrough ended. This was a damn good first attempt and I had a blast. I was originally thinking of ending it here until I remembered a phrase that imbued me with a newfound strength. That being the word, walkthrough. So I load up Google and sure enough, I begin the night once again, but this time rather than winging it, I go in with a plan to complete the Rachel storyline. It starts out repeating similar ground but deviates instead of starting the Computer Bra questline, turning into this bizarre situation where I get Catherine, yes Catherine, to hack Patrick's phone to pretend to be Rachel's friend Vicky to issue weird requests. It starts to get pretty sus. The only silver lining of this process was that I ironically made Hammered Patrick sober throughout the party, which in the moral department I feel is a net gain in this situation. And after trial and error, I've done it. I've achieved Rachel's Mass Effect cutscene, just like in real life, though I'm surprised no one heard it with this house soundproofing. And that is where my journey ended. So that was my experience with the house party. I had an amazing time. It was unironically so fun. I had a total blast. I think it was in part due to the fact that, one, it was kind of simulating the whole house party dynamic, and I think a lot of the fun really came to the fact it was the very like artificiality of it, of just the sheer, it is a video game with like the sound bites repeating, and it's like an adventure game where you're just going around trying to like interact with objects, seeing if it works or not. I think it works really well where it's really goofy in itself. Like, it's not very super serious, which of course I appreciate. It's a very jokey game, but also mechanically, it's just very goofy and silly. Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Oblivion, like, you there? Yes, you. Like, you just like the repeating sound bites of stuff where it kind of feels very artificial, but that's where a lot of the charm comes in. I genuinely had a blast with it. If this sounds like something you are into at all, I totally recommend giving it a shot. It was so fun to play, and I will say I do really respect and I'm genuinely impressed at the sheer level of technical thing of like branching ways you could go about stuff. That's really cool. Like, that's genuinely amazing. That you could branch in to be like, oh, I'm gonna try to pursue the Rachel storyline, or like, oh, actually, let me weave into here and let's try Stephanie, or like, oh, Frank, let's go with him. Where I just think that's super cool. If that sounds like anything you're into, a almost like adventure game framed as a house party, totally give it a shot. Maybe you'll have an even funnier time. I had a lot of fun. It was super cool. And thank you so much for listening to my story of it. My name here on YouTube is Pollymacho, but feel free to call me Alex. I would be honored if you would subscribe if you want to stay up to date with future videos and stuff. I like doing these occasional storytime ones just because they're really fun, but usually with the Macho recommendations I do, I'm really enjoying them. It does take a bit to work on those, so it's fun to just kind of go in here, do like a session of playing something, talk about it, and then I have a video for you guys. So if Macho recommendations or this type of video interest you, feel free to subscribe, let me know what you think and stuff. Hell, if you've even played House Party, I'd love to know what your experience was like. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Whoa. I actually can't see shit. I can't see anything. These are prescription sunglasses, so yeah. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Later.